Bester, thank you very much for joining me for a quick coffee with the editor. We're talking about the recent announcement by the president on South Africa's economic recovery plan, and it's for a change. It's aligned to rail. There are two aspects to it. There is the passenger rail side and obviously the freight rail side. What are your thoughts as a very experienced consultant to this news?
Well, I think it's very positive. We still have to see how this exactly is going to roll out. We know in the past where there were certain attempts made to almost do something similar, but on a much smaller scale. And I don't think there was a lot of success. But, if you look at the rest of the world, that is, for me, the right direction that we're going in. So it's very positive, I have to say.
When you say on a smaller scale previously, is that in relation to the branch lines? I know the topic of branch line concessioning has been going on for years and years and years and years and never really gained any traction per se.
So, Philippa, yes. To some extent, I am referring to the branch line concessioning project from Transnet, as you just mentioned. I think it was started off and then I'm not sure where they are with that, but in my mind, it wasn't a big success.
Yeah.
But I would say mainly because of the way all the lines that were actually identified for concessioning or for private sector participation, the way it was done, I would say, yes, it wasn't successful. But then also, Transnet has got this PSP, what they refer to, the private sector participation model. So it is also similarly in the same and right direction. So that's what we're talking about.
I know you're saying we need to see how this is going to roll out, but in a perfect world, what are your thoughts on the rollouts? And then also touching on the economic regulator, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I do. Yes, obviously Transnet would also tread very carefully of how they're going to roll it out, because it's about risk sharing and how they're going to share risk. It's going to be about the procurement and how the procurement will be done. It'll be very interesting. And then, of course, which lines are identified? Surely not. They're going to open up the heavy ore lines, as I call it, the coal and iron ore lines. It won't be part of this rollout, I think. But it will be good if the other lines are included, the general freight lines, as we refer to, and not only unprofitable branch lines. I know there's a lot of private operators that are or have been funding for this for years. Me, myself, yes. So, a lot of people are ready, and a lot of people, I think they're ready. But as I say, at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a little bit of time. And of course, once they've started, it's going to take quite a bit of years for this whole thing to settle down until you've got an environment that's perfectly, let's say, balanced or competitive in the way that it was designed for.
And your views on the passenger side, do you have views on that or an opinion?
Philippa, yes. I think on the passenger side specifically, it's going to be very difficult, because purely the way that you have to look at if there are any profitable passenger lines in the world, and to what extent government or who else is going to sponsor this or participate in it. But maybe on the long distance passengers, maybe it's an option. I see there's some rumors in the market. I know Western Cape and the Cape Town region has been also trying to see if they can run the commuter lines in the Cape Town area or Western Cape. I see similarly recently, the last week or so, Johannesburg made similar noises. So I think, now that we went through a period where we had some major vandalism of assets, and it is maybe the time that the private sector enter into that market, and let's see how it can roll out. But it's going to be a little bit more difficult, I think, on the passenger side or commuter side, let's call it like that.
And then in terms of the economic regulator, there's mention of it, I think, in the draft white policy paper. Any opinions on that?
Philippa, yes. I think at the end of the day, there needs to be an environment where it's fair to participate. And there needs to be an independent regulator, like a safety regulator, to make sure that there's a third party or independent party looking after that. Because, as I say, it's all about risk sharing, but then also in terms of the liability and the guarantees and everything that goes with it, to make sure that everybody sort of participates on equal footing. You don't want to advance or have the one party above the other, or make it unfair for certain people to participate. So, yes, the timing, obviously, it's a bad timing for everything, as you know, post-COVID and post-capture, state capture. It's not ideal, but, there's probably no best time to do it than now. So, as I say, there are some private operators that have been preparing for this for years. I think the people are eager to participate.
Anything you'd like to add?
I just hope that it's not just talk at this stage, and I hope that it can be relatively quick timelines that we can roll this out, because as I said, in the past also similar times, depressed times, as I can call it, there was noises like this, and it didn't really materialize.
Yeah.
But I think it's, you don't want a railway operator to, let's say, regulate the mining environment, like to some extent we have in South Africa. You want all these things to operate in a free market. So the sooner it happens, the better. But it needs to be regulated, and as you mentioned, the economics that goes with it. It is not a open the gates and here we go type of thing. So we need to keep a lot of things in mind. And there's a lot of preparation work, of course, that needs to go into it. To what extent Transit is ready for this, I don't know. I hear, it's good that they also talk about it. But I'm not sure to what extent they're prepared for it at this stage, to be very honest, because there's a lot of homework that goes into this. As I say, the procurement side of it is just one side of it. Risk sharing is the other side of it. And how fairly risk will be shared in that environment. It's going to be, let's see how that's going to roll out. But it'll be interesting, as I say, the timelines and when we will actually see private operators on an existing network in South Africa.
Because the president's been quite clear about this. He's saying within the next 12 months this must all be happening. That's his timeline.
Yes, 12 months is a very good timeline, I would say. It's a fair timeline. It won't happen in the next month or the 2 months. But yes, when we talk about 12 months, it seems reasonable, provided that there have been some work that went into it. But I believe there has been some work. I believe there are some documents currently somewhere for circulation, for comments, which is good. Yeah. So yes, and I have to say, there are very good examples all over the world of the similar situations and environments. So it's a first for South Africa and the first in the world. There's very good benchmark and examples and lessons learned that South Africa can benefit from.
Yes. Well, and that's what makes the difference, hey?
Exactly.
And that's why we know we've got some the right move.
Yeah, and as you know, we've got some very good, let's call it railway engineers and experienced people in this railway field in South Africa. People that are eager to participate. Yes, so that's good news.
All right, and then do you agree with me that what comes next is regional integration?
Yes, please. Yes, myself and our company has been trying now for quite some time to, specifically, as you know, to have this north-south corridor coming to a reality. Yes. There's a lot of talk. But, and to some extent, if you look at Zimbabwe and even Zambia, and some of the other countries in SADC, there have been some access allowed to other operators, but very limited and very specific to certain, let's call, projects or commodities. But if South Africa can get it right, hopefully it will roll out to the other SADC countries, and maybe that will just make it much easier, like, for instance, the North-South Corridor to become very competitive for inter-regional trade. Yeah? Yeah,
absolutely. How do we get, the African Free Continental or the Continental, I can't remember how it goes, but that,
yes,
the backbone of that actually requires rail.
Yeah. No, I agree. for bulk and long distance, that's what you need. You need rail.
Yes.
You know, you need an effective, efficient rail system. But then, I mean, there I also mentioned it. Of course, very important that when you talk about your vertical integration or separation, that your assets are in a very good condition. So at least you've got a good footing that you can start from.
Yes.
Very important. Yeah.
And do you think there's been enough investment in maintenance over the last year to kind of see that through?
Yeah, so looking at South Africa, you have to say that we've got some of the best railway lines in South Africa, definitely in Africa. And compared to the world, if you look at our gauge and what we do and achieved, I would say some of the best.
Yeah.
Some of the lines probably need more investment, yeah, but I mean that's coupled to the traffic on that line. In some countries, it's relatively in relative condition. In some countries are in a very poor condition, but if you've got freight, obviously you can reinvest into your assets if you've got a proper system of controlling that.
Thank you very much for your time.
Flipper, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.